Aloha and welcome to an ACIM meeting where we're starting on chapter 2. We're in the middle of chapter 2. We're starting at paragraph 8. That's where we left off last time we did this in Hawaii. And here we are again. I'm so excited. I've been studying this a lot and I'm super jazzed up about it. Now, you guys who are on with me, make sure you raise your hand or use the chat, either way, if you have any questions, if something comes up for you, because we're going slow through this. And also, uh, those of you here, well, I only have two people here with me in the room. You guys here in the room, also, don't be shy about it. If something comes up and you go, what about this? We want to go through this slow and we want to make sure we're understanding what Jesus is saying to us here so we're able to apply it to our practical experience. We're not looking to gain some book knowledge so we could sound all smart and stuff like that. We're actually looking for the peace of God through this. And that's why we're studying A Course in Miracles, right? We're seeing how we can implement it throughout all of our day and all of our interactions and our relationships and everything. Yeah. So let's just start with a moment of silence. Even it even comes to me like a breath, a deep breath, and we're joining together with willingness to see clearly, with willingness to see what these words mean. They're not just pretty words. Jesus repeats things many times in A Course in Miracles because we're resistant to hearing what he's actually saying. Our mind is resistant to hearing this freedom that we have and this ability. So let's pray. Jesus, come into this meeting with us. Guide our minds. Help us to see these words, illuminate their meaning for us. Join with our willingness, even if it's just a little bit, to see and hear and understand these words and implement them throughout all of our interactions in the world. Thank you. We love you. We love one another and we love God. One verse in the Bible that I love so much is when two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. And that's what we're doing right now. We're joining, right? So if you tune in, you can feel the presence of Jesus here with us to help us see. All right, let's get started. So we're in the purple book. This is the original, it's based on the original handwritten notes of Helen Schushman. It's the complete and annotated edition. Came out June 17th, 2021. And we're starting again. This is page number, let's see, it gives me the page number here in Kindle. Page number 89. And we're starting with paragraph 9, chapter 2. I ask for my notes here. I've been working with this AI. Having conversations and having it arrange my notes into a study log. That's fun. So it's chapter 2, part 9, paragraph 9. Although people say that God will never ask you to do more than you can, they do not understand it themselves. God cannot ask more than you will. So I had a question about that right off the bat. I was like, okay, God cannot ask more than you will. I know from listening and reading A Course in Miracles that your will is the same as God's will. There's no separate will from God's will. So it said, God cannot ask more than you will. So I asked the question, if your will is one with God's, is this talking about pretending that your will is not God's will? You know, that's one way that I've looked at it a lot is like, am I pretending that I have a will that's separate from God? Is that what's going on? And so, you know, the immediate answer is no. Misbelief in separate will is an unconscious error. So believing that there even is a separate will from God's will is an unconscious error. It's not deliberate pretending. You know, the reason why I've called it pretending is because I'm recognizing that it is an error, right? But not when we're not recognizing that it's an error in the first place. It's not pretending, we just don't know, right? So strain is arising when we believe our will is different from God's. It's believing that we have a separate will, and that's what gives us strain. So the correction is remembering that our will is actually God's will, right? The correction of that is to remember that that's the case. So it says, God cannot ask more than you will. The strength to do comes from your own undivided will to do. And this isn't a doing as far as doing in the world. This is a doing as far as knowing. Uh, let's read this clarification. This helps. In other words, God does not ask more than you will. This is in the footnote. This is footnote 110. God does not ask more than you will because unless the will to do something is present, you literally do not have the strength to do it. So the larger idea seems to be that, as the next sentence says, your will and God's are one, right? This is the idea that is kind of foundational for me. My will and God's will are one. When I'm feeling any fear or strain or anything like that, it's because I've believed in a separate will. I believe that I can do something different. Okay. So this has two implications that, you know, your will and God's will are one. One, he cannot go against your will. This is where it gets confusing because we're saying your will and God's will are one, but then it's saying he cannot go against your will by asking you to do things beyond your will, also known as strength. And two, that you can effortlessly do his will when you realize it's your own will. So, you know, in this context, if we break it down, okay, we're listening to a separate will that's not really our separate will, and that's causing strain. We don't have a will that's separate from God, but it's causing us strain when we believe that we do, and we're listening to this ego will. The ego will is basically based on fear. Right? And God's will is love. God's will is loving. It's unconditional, perfect love. So we get the feeling that we don't have the strength to be perfectly loving. And when we are willing with the ego, which really means listening to the ego, because we cannot. How can we will with the ego if our will is one with God's? In a dream, we're listening to the ego. So when we're listening to the ego and interpreting the ego's thoughts as meaningful, we literally don't have the strength to do God's will, which is extending love. That's the doing. The doing is a mental thing. It's not a physical thing. Free will is our choice to be love or not. Yes, in a dream, Thomas. Yes, that's right. In a dream, that's what it is. Thank you for that comment. And that's our choice. We could listen to the ego and make ourselves weak. All right. And seem like we can't do God's will. We can't extend love in this particular situation. We just want to project. Thank you for joining on Substack too. I appreciate you. So does anyone have any questions about that? That's paragraph 9. There is no strain in doing God's will as soon as it is also your own. See, the words change here. As soon as it is also your own, but it's saying in another place that your will is one with God's. But see, in a dream, we believe that we have the same will as an ego. We believe that we should attack, for instance. Okay. So I'm watching you guys to see if you have any questions. So just let me know. You can raise your hand too if you feel like you have something to share and you want to talk. Okay. Paragraph 10. The lesson here is quite simple, but particularly apt to be overlooked. I will therefore repeat it. This is Jesus speaking. I will therefore repeat it, urging you to listen. This is why we're going slow through it, because we're not listening. We're not listening to what the lesson is saying. We keep on producing these guilty feelings for ourselves. That's the whole thing. That's the whole crux of the problem that we're giving ourselves, is we keep on producing these guilty feelings, not recognizing what this is saying. This is such a clear teaching that there's fear about the teaching. It's really clear, but we're misinterpreting it all the time. And it's really easy too. It's just not simple for like our mind. Okay, listen to this. Only your mind can produce fear, right? It does so whenever it's conflicted in what it wills. So when it's willing, and this is again an ego will, something that we're listening to, it's willing for fear, it automatically causes this conflict and a projection of fear. All upset feelings are fear. That's anything beneath gratitude. That includes concern for another person's well-being, concern for how you're going to get something, make something. It includes all of that. You guys, these kinds of feelings are popping up all the time. I even got a fun little dynamic with my landlord in the door, and I'm watching these things because I'm watching how it's unfolding. It's like rolling out of the mind. And certain feelings are arising, and in my mind, what I'm doing, I'm just using them all for forgiveness opportunities. It's really like behind the scenes of everything that seems to be done. Any sense of concern, oh my goodness, what are they going to do, anything like that? Are they going to kick me out next week? Are they going to tell me I can't have anyone else over again? The thought that, gosh, it seems a little bit unreasonable that they would not want anyone ringing the doorbell when they come. It's not like I have that many visitors, just like the whole thing. Everything. It's everything, right? It just starts spiraling out. So for me, I don't buy into those thoughts as if they're meaningful at all. I'm watching the projection in the body's energy field. And I'm feeling. This is a feeling journey, this illusion. You feel what it is and identify fear is fear. Anything less than gratitude, that's fear. So identifying it like that. Only your mind can produce fear. It's not the illusion making us fearful. It's only our mind making these ideas that fear is justified. It does so, the mind does so, whenever it is conflicted in what it wills, thus producing inevitable strain, because willing and doing become discordant. So it's like we get the sense that we should not be feeling an upset feeling. This is what part of the guilty thing. The upset feeling is neutral. So it's like we want to push it away. We want to be better. We want to be more spiritual, for instance. So it causes inevitable strain because willing and doing become discordant. Look at the feeling being neutral means you could still do God's will with that feeling. What is God's will? Again, extending love. Where does the extension of love need to go? To yourself. You're feeling a sense of less than gratitude. Doesn't mean you did something wrong. You didn't think something wrong. It's a call for love. Where does it go? To yourself. So there's a footnote here. Footnote 111. To understand how this conflict causes fear, you need to remember that the conflict is between what you want to do and what you think you should do. You can behave as you think you should without entirely willing to do it. So I had a question about this. Does fear come from not wanting to do God's will or from fearing the destructive potential of your hidden wish? That was my question. And so fear arises from hidden will conflict, believing you want something else while judging it as destructive. So it's like judging these fearful thoughts as being destructive too. This is my question about footnote 111. Does fear come from not wanting to do God's will or from fearing the destructive potential? And it's like this hidden will conflict, believing you want something else while judging it as destructive. That's the conflict. We don't really want something else. In other words, back to 111 here. In other words, you are straining to do the right thing in the face of a hidden wish to do something else. And you're trying desperately to keep that from being expressed. I've definitely experienced that myself. Where it's like, I think I should be more loving. I think I should be expressing more loving. And I'm afraid of this thought that's saying, fuck you. Right? So it's like desperately trying to keep that one from being my expression. So this suggests that you're afraid of the destructive potential of your hidden wish. See, and it says here before, all fear comes from the mind. Only your mind can produce fear. And it's never justified. That's the other thing. The fear is never justified. So you're afraid of the destructive potential of your hidden wish. And that's the mean-spirited, you could say, thought. Thinking that right? It seems like it does have destructive potential. Like if I'm listening to this thought, then I'm acting out of this thought. What if I'm making war out of this thought? What if I'm going out and killing someone out of this thought? Isn't this showing that this thought has destructive potential? I asked that question too. We'll get to that. That this is the source of fear that Jesus is referring to here is made explicit in the next section, where he speaks of people being afraid of their own death wishes and links that fear with this current section. It's quoting, see previous notes on will conflicts from part 10, which we'll get to soon. That's coming up. So I asked here, question. When you know God's will is your true will, so there's no strain in doing God's will as soon as you know it's your own. Does this mean as soon as you know it is also your own? Okay, when you know God's will is your true will, conflict dissolves. So even in the face of a thought that says, let's say you go all the way to the extreme, I want to kill that fucker, right? That's the underlying thing for the ego anyway. It's like all murderous thoughts. Fuck those guys. It's telling me that I should not have people ring the doorbell, for instance. I mean, when you view it like that, it's hilarious, right? I mean, really. Let it, I mean, even the subtle things, they're all going to murderous thoughts. But the thing is, like, why I can laugh about it is that I know that this has no effect, right? And we believe that it has an effect. And this is unconscious for most people. We're unconsciously believing that it has an effect. And so we're going, we don't even want to look at them. We're afraid. We don't even want to look at these thoughts. We're afraid of them. We're repressing them. And so then we're acting out of anger, and it turns out like people yelling at each other, or all the way to actual murder. Or sometimes people don't yell at each other and just put it inside on themselves, and they walk around all depressed, right? They're bummed out. Their energy isn't alive, right? So when you know God's will, only God's will is your true will, conflict dissolves. Strain is only from perceived difference. So this is the atonement right here, you guys. Look at how close this is. It's right here. It's getting this sense like something is amiss. You know, maybe you're a little miffed. Great. This is the opportunity. It's a forgiveness opportunity. This is where we see. It's not a matter of seeing that your destructive, your thought is apparently, your thought is destructive. Even if it appears destructive, it's like, okay, I had this thought and then I went out and bitch slapped someone. So that means the thought was destructive. No, the thought and the bitch slap all happened in a dream. Only God's will is your true will. So all these things, there's another part in A Course in Miracles. I love this part. I repeat it often. You're perfectly unaffected by lack of love from yourself to another person, from another person to you, or from you and other people to other people, or from you to God. So I heard some people say, I'm pissed at God. If you're totally unaffected by that thought because it occurs in a dream, it means nothing, and it actually has no real effects. That's another thing A Course in Miracles talks about. See, when we believe these thoughts that are against God's will, let's say, have real effects, we're making those thoughts real. And then we're dreaming more, we're projecting more. So the atonement is actually in seeing that those kinds of thoughts, they have no effect at all. They're meaningless. You take them as neutral, and then they neutralize in your energy field. But you see how I can look at them. I can just look at them. Like even this little thing where we're with the doorbell, right? It's about eyes wide open. You're recognizing the thought and bringing it to the truth. This thing about love and light, and only look at like this, like only look at the things that are speaking to, oh, it's so joyful and all this kind of stuff. It's causing us to repress these things and become more and more afraid of our thoughts. That's why people swing easily. I know it makes you tired. I know. It's okay. You can sleep too if you need to. This stuff is going to go straight up your ass if it needs to. Don't worry. Okay, what's Thomas saying? I think even opinions are fear-based and cause separation. Yes. Well, here's the thing. Here's the reframe too of looking at it. Yes, opinions. Oh, it's so much all day long. Okay, this is going on all the time. Even opinions, you can go, okay, these are fear-based. What do we need to know about this? That they have no effect. So we can neutralize them within our mind, bring them to the atonement, bring them to the truth. Opinions, being fear-based, means they have no real effect. That's what it means. They actually have no real effect. But yes, recognizing that opinions are fear-based. And because of that, they're neutral because they have no real effects. This is what it's saying. They're neutral. The power of your mind is grand. I mean, it's saying here in another section how and you've probably heard this before, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains because the power of your mind is so great. But that's not saying that these fearful thoughts have any power. They're not real. You're giving them power in a dream and dreaming up their effects that they're not real. They're not in reality. Even the effects, even fearful effects, they become neutralized. Look, for instance, war, no effect, no real effect. Because we give it effect in our mind, we keep on dreaming about it. And you know, don't tell me, oh, I never think about it. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's in the dream. It's in the dream that basically we're all making up. We're all making this up. To neutralize fearful thoughts and their effects. Feel free to ask questions to you guys on Substack if they come up. You don't have to, of course. You can just listen. If something comes up where you feel, oh yeah, this is relevant. Okay, so we just read footnote 111, and we're going back to paragraph 10, sentence 5. This cannot be corrected by better doing, but it can be corrected by higher willing. So see, in the world, it seems like we should do something in the world. I see this all the time. People say, you know, this is what makes me a good person. And I see this and I'm like, whoa. You know, I see people trying to be a good person. I notice the strain on their face, trying to be a good person. For instance, this gringo mentality that comes up around here. Like we're in their place and we should be doing better. We should be helping them. We should be doing this. We should be doing this. We should be doing this. And, you know, I'm going, that's a meaningless thought. No wonder there's strain on their face. That's the reason it's that there's strain on their face, because it's a meaningless thought. It's constantly looking for how I can do better. I'm calling it gringo complex. Right? And really all it takes is neutralizing this idea that you can that these things that you perceive in the world can be corrected by doing better. Not like that. It's higher willing. See, so this what we're talking about right now is higher willing. To the world and to the ego-based thought system, this is like some kind of bypass. Yeah, it's bypassing the ego. It's not bypassing the spirit, which the other way is actually bypassing the spirit. Yes, this is what we're into. This is what A Course in Miracles is about. And this is what A Course in Miracles are all about doing, is bypassing the ego. So it's higher willing. And this higher willing is willing to see, this is what he's saying over and over again, is willing to see that these thoughts, these negative thoughts, your negative thoughts, you're fearful, it's all fearful. It's all just fear. You can make it all fear. Anger, sadness, whatever. It's like the ego is so crafty too. You know, you see the look on someone's face, they're so sad that things are so bad in the world. Like I go to meetings with spiritual people all the time, and this is what comes up, right? Oh, I'm so sad. And I'm such a good person. That's why I'm sad. And I want to be an even better person, right? So this is just projecting it. It's not the higher willing that says, oh, that's fear. That sadness, that concern for other people, even is fear. I'm making these things real. I'm putting pressure on myself. I'm putting strain on myself. That's why it looks like strain. That's why it looks like grief. That's why I find myself grieving all the time. Because I'm not higher willing. I'm trying to do better. I'm kind of trying to be a better human doing, right? Instead of higher willing, which has to do with being. Okay, you guys are doing good. Okay, so you guys have any questions for about paragraph 10? Let me know. I'm moving on to paragraph 11. The first corrective step is knowing it is fear. It is fear. If I'm grieving, it's fear. If I'm concerned, it's fear. If I'm sad, it's fear. Anything less than gratitude, that's fear. Look how often that comes up. You know, things seem to occur in the field. Something seems to happen in the field, but really it's just our mind making up the field and everything just to project fear in all these different forms, but it's all fear. First corrective step, knowing it is fear. Now, this is mind watching, you guys. This is real mind watching. This is what brings you to the peace of God. This delivers you to the peace of God. After taking this step, knowing it's fear, you might benefit temporarily by adding another step before going on with the corrective process. Try saying to yourself that you must have willed not to love somehow or somewhere. Let's just clarify that again, because our will is one with God. So how are we willing not to love? It must be dreaming. We must be dreaming. So if there's any kind of upset feeling, this is not a guilty thing. That's the thing. It's like if you're afraid of being seen as willing wrong or something like that, you're going to hide this stuff from yourself. Don't make yourself guilty about it. So in your dream, you've willed not to love somewhere or somehow, or the fear which arises from behavior will conflict could not have happened. So, see if I had a question on that. Okay, yes, I did. So the passage is, know first, this is fear. Fear arises from lack of love. Okay, that's actually paragraph 10. We already got to that, but recognize fear honestly. Understanding that fear signals perceived lack of love. That's the signal. Any kind of fear arising, perceived lack of love. Let's go back to the doorbell thing, because it's a perfect example. The landlord doesn't want people ringing the doorbell. Apparently, I forgot to tell Jay not to ring the doorbell. He came up and rang the doorbell. Landlord's right out there looking. So immediately, what I'm doing immediately in my mind is noticing. I like the actions they're taking care of themselves. I know that. I know I don't have any choice in that. I go up, I give Jay a kiss. I ask him, "Hey, from now on, call me." My landlord's saying, they're like, "Oh." Whoops. So understanding that fear signals lack of love, and that any kind of concern, any kind of, like, I'm watching the energy fluctuations in my field, and yes, it went to less than gratitude. Yes, acknowledge that. I'm seeing all these, I'm seeing all these different thoughts and projected feelings. Why the fuck is this even a big deal anyways, right? Oops, and then why the fuck is this a big deal anyways? You guys, this is great. It's a perfect example of just a rise right before this. So only perfect unconditional love dissolves the fear, remembering that the separation never occurred. This did not occur. None of this shit occurred with a doorbell. It's not even happening. This is a dream, right? How do we employ perfect love? Now, I'm not reading from A Course in Miracles right now. I'm going through my questions, some of my questions that I had while I was reading. So if you're trying to follow me in A Course in Miracles, that's not happening. We're still in the same spot. We haven't moved from where we were. Where were we? Paragraph 11. Still on paragraph 11. So how do we employ perfect love when fear is present? We're going to identify that as fear. First of all, we're identifying it as fear. Anything that's less than gratitude. You hear how I'm saying those thoughts, right? So you can see easily by that example what's less than gratitude. So how do we do this? Accept the fear without resistance. Recognize it's a call for love and invite love's perception. That's what just, like, I'm just going about my day apparently on the surface of things, but this is going on behind it. I'm inviting love's perception in. That's all. I notice my mind go to different things. I'll get a perception, someone was telling me to be quiet, for instance, and I'll get a perception like, oh, like a little bit of a contraction, and then it'll just be like inviting love's perception again and again. So it's embracing the fear, right? With love. Everything gets love. It's not fighting it. It's not fighting against it. This is how we affirm the atonement. So now we come to paragraph 11 where we are, where I had another question. We're still not in paragraph 11. We're still on my question. And if you guys have questions, let me know. How can we will without love if our will is one with God's? I ask this again because it says having willed without love. I ask it again. In truth, we cannot. The answer is we cannot. Willing without love is an ego illusion. Our true will is always love. And this atonement corrects the misperception. So back to paragraph 11, where it says, the first corrective step is knowing it is fear. After taking this step, you might benefit temporarily by adding another step before going on with the corrective process. Try saying to yourself that you must have willed not to love. Somewhere or somehow you must have willed not to love. We cannot really will not to love, even though it says it right there in A Course in Miracles, because it says it somewhere else in another way, right? So I'm getting the clarification here. Willing without love is just an ego illusion. Our true will is always love. It's our true will is always love. So when we're loving, when we're embracing even the fear, and I'm calling concern fear, even everything that's less than gratitude, that's how it gets corrected. That's how it actually gets corrected, because it's embraced. It's not pushed away. It's not like I shouldn't feel this. I perceive this with people all the time. When they tell me they're not there yet. That's just a thought. Right now, there's not a not yet. There's just right now. There's the thought right now that gets embraced with love, that gets recognized as fear and embraced right now with love, recognizing that's not your true thought. That's a neutral. It's actually neutral because it has no effects. but you make it as if it has effects and it seems to affect you. I'm not there yet. Other people are further ahead than me, for instance. You're making this up right now, and you can perceive yourself going way further, way faster, if you're willing to embrace that fearful thought with love. Okay, so let's go back to try saying to yourself that you must have willed not to love somewhere or somehow or somewhere. I would even reframe that. Try saying you must have dreamed that you willed not to love somehow or somewhere, because Jesus is saying in other parts that you have your will is one with God. There is no other will. Or the fear which arises from behavior will conflict could not have happened. So the behavior will conflict is this sense like you're acting out of fear. You're acting out of a fearful thought. You didn't want to do it like that. That's a behavior will conflict. But even that gets embraced with love. And it says, then follow the previous instructions. And we're given a footnote here, footnote 112. Let me just go back and check where I am here. Part 2, chapter 2, part X, paragraph 5. Okay, that's for later. We're still on part 9, paragraph 11 at the end of it, and there's a footnote 112. The previous instructions appear to be the exercise given near the end of chapter 1, and that's Miracle Principle 48. Know first that this is an expression of fear. Your love toward each other is not perfect, and this is why the fear arose. Turn immediately to me by denying the power of fear. This is what we're doing. That's why we keep on going over this over and over again, because there's resistance to this. Denying the power of fear, and ask me to help you replace it with love. Are we ever asking that? Right? And when we're judging ourselves for having the thought, for instance, for listening to the ego thought, we're not asking for it to be replaced with love. Then acknowledge the true creative worth of both yourself and the other one. So in this case, with the doorbell, it's acknowledging the true creative worth of myself and the landlord. And so that neutralizes everything in my mind. It neutralizes any kind of effects that need to present themselves to me. And any effects that come from fear, not really there. God did not will it, so therefore it doesn't exist. It doesn't even exist. What we're perceiving is a world of non-existent shit. A whole world of shit that doesn't exist. Anything we don't like in the world, we think we don't like in the world, it doesn't exist. Litter, a polluted lake, for instance, that you can't swim in here, it actually doesn't exist. So we're taking these things as they arise in our perception, and we're denying any meaning to them. We're denying any effects. We're denying that even these effects that we seem to see are real. Caitlin says, yes, I so need to remember this. Yes, we all do, don't we? That's why we study. And that's why we keep on studying. We don't rest on this idea, oh, I know A Course in Miracles. Because what happens then, we start repressing these things. And then we don't see how we really need to neutralize every thought that is against us. And eventually that'll neutralize the world and reveal the real world. And as we're doing that, that's the happy dream. We get to be happy. That's the effect. We get to be happy. We get to have energy and be calm and happy. Thomas said, owning our fear is really honest. Yeah, that's the first step is know first this is fear. Let me just check you guys out over on Substack. Okay, thank you for joining, you guys. You can ask questions there too. Just letting you know, I go back and I check occasionally, usually before I even move on from any paragraphs. You stick in a paragraph for a little while. So now we're on paragraph 12. If you consider what the process really means, it is nothing more than a series of pragmatic steps in the larger process of accepting the atonement as a remedy. From this viewpoint, the steps can be reworded as follows. So this is nice because Jesus just rewords the steps for us here. Number 1, know first this is fear. We went over that a lot, right? Number 2, fear arises from lack of love, which is only in a dream, which is only happening in a dream. Number 3, the only remedy for lack of love is perfect love. That is our action right there. It is employing the remedy. The remedy for lack of love is perfect love. Perfect love is the atonement. So really there's 3 steps that for us to do, and then the 4th one, perfect love is the atonement. That's what happens. That's the effect. So let's get some one moment. I'm going to get these ones expounded on. Okay, these 4 steps. Know first that this is fear. So this is actually a radical recognition. Before any projection, before any justification or explanation or anything, it's asking us to identify that the energetic root state is fear. So another way of saying it is it's a contraction of consciousness. It's a harmonic collapse of awareness into a separate identity. That's fear. It's leading to distortion. ACIM is teaching that honest naming of fear is the first gateway to healing. It's revealing that this is a distortion from the natural field of love. So this is the first gateway. It's a withdrawal of trust. It's a closing. It's like in an energetic way, it's closing down of the field. It's contracting. Something I don't want, for instance. It's misidentification. Number 2, fear arises from lack of love. So this is revealing the causal origin. It's not saying fear isn't inherent. It's an emergent distortion arising from perceived absence of love. There isn't really lack of love. That's why you're unaffected by it. It's perceived absence of love. So love itself maintains this structural integrity in consciousness. And this perceived absence of love causes this disharmony. When it's withheld, blocked, disbelieved, fear rushes in as a shadow. It's a shadow. So it's not truly an opposing force to love. It's not the opposite of love. It's just a symptom of apparently withdrawing from love. In terms of like a wave in the field, it's this sense like it's a deep, you could call it a dip, a lack of a peak, right? Fear is not something to battle against. It's just resolved through love's reintroduction. We reintroduce love. So fear arises from lack of love. And then that automatically leads to number 3, which is the only remedy for lack of love is perfect love. So ACIM is articulating here, Jesus is articulating that the distortion can't be corrected by other solutions. The only remedy for lack of love is perfect love. So that's restoring the field. This is like an energy field or hologram, restoring the field to perfect love, unification of these polarities, recognizing that fear isn't an opposite to love. It's not opposing love. It's a shadow. So it's a distortion. It's like a distortion in the field, disharmony. So only unconditional love, you can call it harmonic love. It's unbound by any reciprocity, projection, anything. There's nothing that touches it. There's nothing that can touch it. And this is what you are. You are this perfect love. And it says earlier, our love isn't perfect. In this dream, what we've made of ourselves, it's like our love isn't perfect. And that's why we're doing this atonement process over and over again. So perfect love is the atonement. Hang on a second. I'm just going to upload ACIM again here. I upload ACIM. I have it in PDF format. If anyone wants it, just ask me for it. I'll send it to you, however I can send it to you. It's a big book, but I had it distilled down to PDF format to make it easy to upload it into any AI so you can ask questions about it. And what I noticed is if I upload it into each individual chat that I'm doing, it's way more accurate and speaks to me the way I like. So still not reading from ACIM right now. What if all the fear that's being felt today is not an enemy? We're not looking at it as an enemy anymore. All the concern, all the upset, sadness, longing, whatever it is, we're not looking at as an upset. We're not looking at as an enemy. Well, it is an upset, but we're not looking at as it's something against us, but a pointer that we just temporarily forgot about love. What if every time we felt this contraction, we looked at it as an invitation to return to love again and again? It's always what it is. Noticing where fear still seems to be real. And bringing it to love. Thomas says atonement equals the separation never happened. Exactly. And we're looking at it like this in these micro terms, wherever it shows up anywhere. This is the practice. This is the atonement practice. This is the forgiveness. We're watching where it shows up in the particulars of our lives, and we're bringing it to the truth again and again so we could be happy. That's what happens. It results in our happiness. That's the happy dream that A Course in Miracles talks about. Thank you for joining, everyone. I love you. Okay, so we're moving on unless I see that you guys have some questions about this. We're still not out of paragraph 12. We're still in paragraph 12. We went through the 4 steps. Now we're on sentence 7. The final procedural step is inherent in the last statement. Now that's talking about number 4. Perfect love is the atonement, the final procedural step. And there's a footnote here, footnote 113. A handwritten note in the text lists the final procedural step as number 3, the third one. The only remedy for lack